At first glance, Supermicro's latest business update might look, well, a little disappointing. But if you dig just below the surface, you find this incredible high-stakes story. A story about a company basically betting its entire future on AI, even while its most recent report card looks a bit shaky.
And this really captures the whole puzzle perfectly. On one hand, you've got the most recent quarter, where sales and profits took a pretty big hit. Not great, right? But then you look at the other side, and they're forecasting absolutely explosive, record-shattering growth for next year. It's like they're living in two completely different realities at the same time.
So that brings us to the big question, right? What is the real story here? Are they a company in trouble, or are they a company on the verge of something massive? That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, the answer to that puzzle, and the reason for all that wild optimism, it really comes down to just two letters. AI. Supermicro is planting its flag right in the heart of the artificial intelligence revolution, and the kind of demand they're seeing is, well, it's just off the charts.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to their CEO, Charles Liang. He talks about a rapidly expanding order book, and get this, one single product line has already locked in over $13 billion in orders. That's the kind of confidence that lets you put out these absolutely staggering forecasts for the future. So how are they going to pull this off? It's not just hope. They've got a real strategy here built on a few key things. First, they're winning bigger customers and much bigger orders. They've become a go-to partner for delivering NVIDIA's brand new AI systems at a huge scale. And they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're also first out of the gate with new AI gear from AMD. Plus, they're innovating in super important areas like liquid cooling to handle all the heat these new chips generate.
Let's just stop and really look at this number for a second. Over $13 billion. And remember, that's not a guess or a forecast. That's the value of orders they already have for just one family of products, NVIDIA's new Blackwell stuff. That's not a trend, that's a tidal wave of demand.
And that tidal wave, well, it leads directly to this number, a forecast of at least $36 billion in revenue for the full year. We're not just talking about growth here. This is a complete transformation of the company's size and scale, all thanks to this world's insatiable hunger for more AI power.
Okay, so if the future is so blindingly bright, what about that gloomy-looking last quarter? Let's decode those financials, because it's a really important part of the story. This isn't really a sign of trouble. It's more like a snapshot of a company right in the middle of a massive, slightly messy transition.
So first up, the main number, revenue. It came in at just over $5 billion. But here's the kicker. That's actually down 15% from the same time last year. And in a sector that's all about growth, any kind of decline is going to make people nervous.
Next, let's look at how profitable they were. Their non-GAAP gross margin was 9.5%. You can think of this basically as the profit they make on every dollar of stuff they sell. And that number, well, it dipped too. And finally, the bottom line. Non-GAAP earnings per share landed at just 35 cents. To give you some perspective, that's less than half of what it was a year ago. So yeah, no sugarcoating it, by all the key metrics, it was definitely a tough quarter on paper. Now you probably noticed I've said non-GAAP a few times. It's one of those bits of financial jargon, but it's actually kind of important here. So you might be asking yourself, what does that even mean?
So think of it like this. GAAP is the official rulebook. It's the standard, government-approved way everyone has to do their accounting. Non-GAAP is kind of like the director's cut. The company takes the official numbers and pulls out certain items. The big one is usually stock-based compensation, because they feel it gives a better picture of how the core business is really doing day to day. It's their way of saying, okay, here's how things look without all the accounting noise.
So we have this absolutely massive demand on one side, and a company in the middle of this big transition on the other. This brings us to the most critical part of the whole story. How are they actually going to do it? How are they going to scale up to meet this incredible future?
Okay, so at the very heart of their strategy is this thing they call the building block approach. And honestly, it's pretty brilliant. It's like having a giant set of high-tech Legos. They've got all these standardized, reusable parts, motherboards, cases, power supplies, that they can snap together super fast to build custom servers for any job, especially for these complex AI systems. It gives them a huge edge in speed and flexibility.
And this is what those building blocks create. I mean, look at this. These aren't just beige boxes with wires. This is the literal engine room of the AI revolution.
When you hear about giant AI models being trained or new cloud data centers being built, they're being filled with racks and racks of hardware that looks just like this.
But to build all those engines, you need a bigger factory, a much bigger factory. And they are expanding like you would not believe. They just brought a huge new campus online in Malaysia. They've got another new facility being built right in Silicon Valley. And they're already planning for yet another major site in the Americas. This isn't a small step up. It's a global push to build, build, build.
So, after looking at the past, the incredible future, and the plan to get there, what's the big takeaway from this whole Supermicro story?
Here's what it all boils down to. That recent tough quarter, it isn't the real story. It's just noise. The real story is about a company making a massive strategic pivot. They're dealing with some short-term bumps and bruises to get themselves ready for this enormous, long-term wave of AI-driven growth. The past isn't predicting the future here. It's simply the cost of building it.
And that leaves us with the really critical question. The opportunity is gigantic. There's no doubt about it. Supermicro is literally building the physical foundation for the future of AI. But it is a frantic race against time and competition. The bet has been placed. The only question now is one of execution. Can they build it all, and can they build it fast enough?